All right, so welcome to part 2 of, I guess, 8, as we are a quarter way through the entire program and then halfway through our core and required classes at the BU MET Criminal Justice Master's degree. So, MET CJ590 was Research and Evaluations Methods. There were no prerequisites for this course. Ran from about March 12th to May 3rd, and then our course book was the 7th edition of Bachman and Schutt, Practice of Research in Criminology and Criminal Justice. So, my teacher for the course was Robert Cadigan. He's the Associate Professor Emeritus, and he's in the Department of Social Sciences. He sort of reminded me of Mr. Feeney in Boy Meets World, which was pretty funny. And our course's facilitator was Timothy Kahansky. There's Bob Cadigan, you can see him there. And so our course relied on a discussion board, just like last class, for the activity of the classroom. And then we had an introductions page, facilitator's corner, with a water cooler, the area where you can kind of freely post and socialize with others. Breaking it down week to week. Week 1 was social science research. Week 2 was research design. Week 3 was experiments. 4 was focusing on 2 different common types of research done in the social sciences, survey and field research. Week 5, we will learn about analyzing content such as official records, evaluating policy, and such as the effectiveness of prisons boot camps. Week 6, this week introduces us to statistics. These are his words, not my words, but it's pretty funny. Give it a chance before you panic. Introductory statistics are not difficult, especially when you consider that some of the most frequently used statistics are based on the idea that everyone is familiar with, the mathematical average. So this class was about mode, median, mean, that sort of stuff that you probably learned in high school or probably college. Wasn't too difficult. It's not the statistics that you're probably thinking of. The important point is that you attempt to understand the concepts behind stats rather than doing the actual calculations. We didn't need a calculator, and I don't really intend to in these courses. And he said, you're not even asked to do so. Week 7, we wrapped up with presentations and final. So, about this course, analyzing the difference between scientific approach and the human inquiry approach to causal and probabilistic reasoning. Describing the purposes of various research methods, identifying the basic ethical issues of criminal justice research, and evaluating the relationships between theory, last class, research, and public policy. So what you'll learn, this course introduces students not only to fundamentals of the scientific method, but also to the ethics and philosophical debates about methodological practices. So, discussions. Discussions were every week, just like last class. You post, you have your class on Tuesday, you do your discussion post by Thursday, and you respond to 2 other students by Sunday. This one, sometimes you had to respond by Sunday at noon or turn in a paper by noon. And so for those of you that procrastinate, not me, because I was in college and undergrad, but now I've learned to manage my time a little better. You do need to read the syllabus and be aware that sometimes the cutoff date's noon on Sunday. So if you've got family stuff and church and all that, you may not have time to devote to your proofreading. So just be mindful of that. Discussions included analyzing research from past experiments. So there was a Shopping While Black YouTube film in which black patrons are shopping for clothes. They're asked to leave the store. The reason why is not spoken aloud, but it's understood that it's relevant to race. The experiment then studied onlookers, fellow shoppers, trying to see if anybody else would step up for the people of color despite race differences in age, creed, sex, or opinion. Another option, another week, was analyzing a YouTube video that introduced yoga as a great asset to inmates' morals and the guards due to a lesser anger across the board in prisons and jails. However, very few like me questioned it. My example was, such as John Doe signed up for yoga. He's in his 8x8 cell every day, and this is a chance for him to get out and some extra recreational time and stare at a pretty lady leading the class. Maybe not the example people are looking for, but it's the truth, and I found very few statistics that studied or even delved into the fact that many of these guys sign up just to get out of a hot, boring jail cell, which is probably the truth, but none of our research showed that. So my writings did not study the ethics or the quality of life or blah, blah, blah that's included in taking these yoga classes, but rather took a look into the programs that were superficially successful as these mainstream media outlets showed on our TV. So I took a different look at that one in that week's discussion. We had live classroom recordings every Tuesday night. You read your book, readings by Tuesday night, a couple chapters every week. Discussion posted by Thursday, like I said. Respond to 2 different posts by Sunday night. Discussion posts are posted on the Blackboard discussion threads. Midterms and papers in this class were called labs, and they were turned in digitally via the internal BU Blackboard. There were also 2 wikis, W-I-K-I, that were required in this course. And they're kind of like a group workshop. I kind of copy and pasted what it says about it so I can give you a little better feeling before you go into the course. So, a wiki is a collaborative learning experience that enables groups of students to work together to solve a problem or to complete a project. Click on the page links to the right to open each one. Read the project description for each one. Then, once you've selected your resources, click on Edit. Keep it open only as long as it takes you to make the edit. Only one student can be in the wiki at a time. Enter your resources in the list along with an annotation briefly describing each resource and why you selected it. Be careful not to overwrite. Each student should contribute at least 2 original resources. In other words, do not post a resource that someone else has already chosen. Annotations no more than 150 words, and they should be concise and well written. So, not big fan of group projects because I always get lumped into the one with the guy who doesn't do any work. But this was a group project that's already online. You go in, you do your research, you find your sources. Sometimes you could use BU Brink, B-R-I-N-K, that's our internal, where you can find internal articles. But regardless, you go in, you make your post, and then you exit the wiki, and you put your name on it, and then anybody else can go in there and edit, just kind of like Wikipedia. But it was basically, well, it's in my eyes, a way for you to find some other resources that maybe if I was looking up, crime rates in Detroit, and someone else in the class is looking up, prison rates in, Boston, well, there you go. You have 2 different resources that probably weren't going to collude or find a connection if you were just doing your own research. So it's pretty neat. I enjoyed it, and it wasn't too much of a group project, really, in the end. My midterm was called Lab 1. We had 2 labs, and this was a paper on domestic abuse rates on the rise and how COVID-19 is to blame. So, utilizing methods I learned in the first few weeks of class, I gathered research articles from across the spectrum. Importantly, however, these articles are from March of 2020 to about April of 21. Although the paper does come to some conclusions, at this point in the course, it was just more important to explain what type of measurement could collude research from across the globe. Sure, many people are cooped up in their homes with dogs, significant others, sometimes children, but we must not forget that there's domestic abuse, despair, depression, drug addiction issues that have also and sometimes been attributed to these challenges inside the home. So that's kind of what my research on Lab 1, it's like a 5 or 6 page paper, took a look into. And then Lab 2 was my final, and this was a study of murder rates, gun sales, and do the right people have access to firearms. Although the media is always on the fight to ban these black guns that we see on TV, my research found that in 2019, 93% of homicides were committed using a pistol. So I also examined various state gun laws, which in one example or multiple examples, the shooter lived in one state, like California, where you have strict gun laws, and he simply drove across the state line in a neighboring state in Nevada and purchased a firearm legally. So the gist of this paper was that universal gun laws should go into place to limit access to firearms and further legal citizens to purchase them through the correct avenues. So in the end, this course was taking your theory and your methods that you learned previously in the prior course, the 570 course. This is the 590 course. You're learning how to do research. I went to decent private high school and then a private liberal arts college. So I did a lot of research, but I never really learned how to do your research. Anybody can pull up articles cited at the bottom and throw them in your paper. But here we're studying, if you're doing something in 2000 Rodney King, you don't want to take your numbers from July and your August riots. You probably want to wait a year to do your research and find your numbers for that area. So learned a lot about research and evaluating the methods used in people's articles. So it was great. A lot of us don't agree with what's on the media and what's on TV, but in written articles where the person cited multiple other resources, it's pretty interesting to take a look at. So I enjoyed the course. I'm looking forward to the 2 this summer that are coming up, and then once those are done, we'll knock out the core, which will be pretty exciting. And so have a pretty good background going into the second portion, the second half of this master's degree. Hope everybody enjoys the videos, and I'll try to keep current with whoever's commenting and posting about them, and look forward to sharing more down the road. Thank you, and have a good weekend.